Basketball Talk Pro. You know, when I did the last session, I made some mention about media, fans and things like that, not to pay any attention to them. But I have to take back what I said with a few. The people that do the, what you call a technical or color work on TV. There is one, and in particular, Hubie Brown. When he speaks, you can listen and you can learn. Hubie spends about 3 hours of really intense, quiet work, just him in a room, preparing for each one of those broadcasts. He knows both teams inside and out. Nothing will surprise him. He can give you very good inside information. He never brings himself into it. He is a very professional reporter, and also, by the way, was a very, very good coach. And I thought afterwards, I can't let this go by without letting them know that Hubie Brown is really pro. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about a book that is very dear to me, and has meant a lot to my basketball coaching through the years. I learned a lot, and I came across something in the book that I want to share with you. If you read the book carefully, with the idea of really absorbing as much as you can, what struck me the very first time I read it was his knowledge of his players. He goes through it. If you read the whole book, he goes through his whole team, and he has an insight into his players. He usually starts out by giving just a little bit of their background in college or something unique to them, but then he reaches deeper and it gets to the really ultimate part of his personality, and what, as a coach, he has to find ways to deal with each one of them. And I just wondered, as you approach your team, do you do the same thing with your players? Do you get to know them like that? Now, I'm not saying Vince Lombardi's going over to the house or anything like that. No, he gets to know them from being on the field with them, being in a practice field with them. But he also gets to know them because he talks to them and he asks them questions. He knows about their family. He knows when a player's wife is in the hospital or having, he knows those things because he looks for them and he wants to know them. He knows that this knowledge will help him to bring out the best in those players. Well, there was one player in particular that I want to focus on, and it means I have to read because I cannot talk or think like Vince Lombardi. We're in his head when we read this. The writer was phenomenal. It's a classic book. This writer was just phenomenal in how he was able to get into Lombardi's head. And if you read the beginning, Lombardi was difficult to get into inside of him. But the player in question is Bart Starr, his quarterback, through all of Lombardi's championships. Bart Starr was his quarterback. Bart Starr, though, was not considered an outstanding quarterback, though he did outstanding things. So let me read. It's a couple paragraphs. On the screen now, they're watching films. He and his assistants getting ready for the next game. It's about the Monday or Tuesday before Sunday's game. On the screen now, Bart Starr is faking to Tom Moore, who went in for Horning, and then he drops back and throws toward Max McGee, our split left end, who had run a zig-end pass route. Max has a step on Dave Witzel, but Starr's pass is behind him, and Witzel intercepts. Bart's 2 cents, I'm thinking. I noticed it last week and the week before. I can understand it because there is no one on this team who is more conscientious and dedicated than Bart Starr. By the nature of his position, your quarterback is your number one man, and we are the champions. And I know that Bart feels that he has the whole burden of our offense on his shoulders, and I will have to try to relax him. When I joined this team, the opinion around here and in the league was that Starr would never make it. They said he couldn't throw well enough, wasn't tough enough. They had no confidence in himself, and no one had confidence in him. He was a top student at Alabama, so they said he was smart enough. And after looking at the movies that first preseason, I came to the conclusion that he did have the ability, the arm, the ball handling, techniques, and the intelligence. But what he needed was confidence. Excuse me again. This is how Lombardi learned his players and knew his players. But there's something in here I want to talk specifically to. The very last line, but what he needed was confidence. There is a kind of a line where confidence fades into fear, and vice versa. Fear fades into confidence. A little more confidence, a little less fear. A little more fear, a little less confidence is kind of the setup that we're talking about. Lombardi had the feeling, and he talks later, he shows how he tries to work with Bart Starr coming up in one of the biggest games of the season. I have a different view of it. It's nice. You can go say the words. You got to relax. You got to be confident. You got to let those worries disappear. I think there's only one person that can do that. I think you can only control lack of confidence, which is in effect fear and doubt in yourself. And I think the only person is you. I think it's that person that has to learn how to control his mind so that he can subdue the negative and enhance the positive. How do you do that? Well, I don't know if there's anybody who has ever really sat down and said, this is how you can do it. And I'm not going to be the first one or be one at all. But I do have some ideas about it because I've been doing a lot of research. And the more research I do, the more I realize that this is a stumbling block for most people. Most of us won't admit it, but all of us have fear and doubt. Tai Chi, the ancient dance or whatever they call it, makes mention of that right from the beginning, the very first lesson. Your biggest opponent is going to be doubt. That's the one you have to overcome in order to do things confidently, smoothly, and with tremendous skill, which you can attain, but you cannot attain it when you're afraid or you don't think you can. First of all, I think you need to, this is just a rough idea, I am not a psychologist. I only know kind of because of myself. I know from within what I go through and what has helped me. And one of them that I think you must do, because in order to overcome this, you must have terrific mental discipline. I think the first thing is to learn how to concentrate. Zazen, in the philosophy of Zen, is a mind training exercise. It's very simple. You just count your breaths. I have asked you before many times, try it and see if you can get past 6 or 7 without losing your concentration. But if you continue day after day after day, year after year after year, Phil Jackson is probably the greatest example of it. He has unbelievable mind control. But 35 years he's been working at it. Doing that, all he does is one simple thing. He counts his breaths for about 20 minutes twice a day. In a private place, very quiet. I think that's the first thing. You cannot control the thoughts that go through your mind unless you have that kind of concentration. It is not easy. It's very difficult until you get over the hardest part. And then all of a sudden it becomes delightful. It quiets you, puts you to sleep if you want to. I use it all the time for sleep. Quieting your mind just opens up everything. Your creative ability, your thinking, but the other thing it does is it guards against those conscious thoughts that go floating through your mind second by second by second, all day long, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. These thoughts are going as they are right now for you and for me. But mental discipline will begin to show you that not all thoughts are the same. Some thoughts are soothing that are coming through. Some thoughts are very negative. Some thoughts are very positive. Some thoughts are very creative. Ideas come to you that couldn't come any other way. Having an awareness through your concentration of these thoughts and knowing which ones to say no and which ones to say maybe and which ones to say this is something I gotta hang on to. That's where you can finally reach down and say to doubt, I believe I can do this. I have faith that I can do this. I will make this shot. I won't miss this shot. But trust me, when your best player gets that ball in the last few seconds of the game, and the game is on the line, and the ball comes to him probably after very strong effort on the part of the coach and the team, because he's the best. I can just imagine in those few seconds of getting ready to shoot and shooting, how many thoughts of fear that have gone through his mind. Will I miss it? What will the coach think? The fans will be disappointed. My wife will be disappointed. The kids will be crying. All these things in just split seconds are floating through there. Somehow, he's got to, in seconds, stop it and say, I will make this shot. And that is training. No other way. It is humanly not possible without training. I talked a couple sessions ago about the shooting drill, and I showed you how with Maurice Cheeks, what we worked on was this very thing, with being able to concentrate and focus 100% on the shot. It's the only way he could have gotten so that he can make 12 out of 15 7 times every time he came to practice, 7 different 15-minute sessions. If you can, first of all, I'll tell you that you have to bring this to yourself first. You can't heal somebody if you aren't healed. You're being foolish if you think you can. You have to have the knowledge based on experience and based on struggle, so that you can help each and every player on your team. I believe that Lombardi took those steps. I believe that he goes through everything, or went through everything we do. He fought through the fear. He fought through the doubt, and found a way for himself. And because of that, he recognized in every player on his team where it was, and could try to find a way, because he didn't have much time either. And this is only 15, 16 minutes that we have. This takes a lot longer. But maybe we can get you to make a start. Not only help your players, by the way, but give you a much, much happier and good feeling, right-minded life. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a couple days.